And then we have a section containing mitigation measures, another section containing adaptation measures, and a fourth section containing capacity building and knowledge management measures, and finally a section 5 which contains information to facilitate the MRV. So this is our NDC, the snapshot of our NDC. When we started thinking about tracking our NDC, we know that we have 20 objectives and more than 100 measures to track. Our mitigation objectives are split in 3 main groups. One group has to be with global objectives for GHG emissions intensity regarding the evolution of the economy. So in order to track these objectives, we have to measure emissions, and we have to have or obtain our gross domestic product. We also have specific objectives for GHG emission intensity regarding food production. So here we need emissions and meat production to obtain this emission intensity and track our objectives. And we also have other specific objectives for the LULUCF sector, and these objectives are expressed in land areas. So no emissions are needed here, but we need to know some areas under specific land use managements to track these other group of objectives. For example, in section 2, we have our mitigation measures, and this section contains the main mitigation measures to contribute to achieving the unconditional mitigation objectives, but we also have the main mitigation measures to contribute to achieving the objectives which are conditional to additional means of implementation. So we have these 2 groups of mitigation measures that we are going to, we had to track also, and they are organized among these sectors, which are very similar to the sectors we have in the GHG inventories. So this is the summary of our NDC. We also, I know do not talk about the adaptation measures and so on in order to comply with the time. So how do we organize to design our tracking system? First of all, we have to know that in Uruguay exists this interinstitutional coordination mechanism called the National Climate Change Response System, which is integrated for a great number of institutions. But this system organized the tasks about climate change and climate change transparency, dividing the tasks into working groups. So we have, for example, one working group, which is where some representatives of these institutions work. One working group is it's called the PMRV group, which was in charge to develop the tracking system. But we also have another group on GHG inventories, another group on gender, another group regarding adaptation matters, damages and losses. We have several working groups under this umbrella coordination system. And so this group was mandated to design this tracking system for the NDC. And this group has representatives for a few of these institutions. For example, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Environment, of course, the Ministry of Health, and so on. And it was key to develop the work. The leadership of the Climate Change National Directorate. For each of these institutions that conform the group, one technician or one professional from the Climate Change National Directorate works closely with the representative from that institution in order to develop the system, to study each of the measures, to identify the indicators that it is adequate to track the progress of each of the measures and each of the objectives. So the leadership of the Climate Change National Directorate was very key. And how we collect the information we need. First of all, we identified for each objective and for each measure the indicators that are adequate to track the progress. And we developed a form, a technical form to put there all the relevant information to track the progress of each objective and each measure. So we, sorry that this is in Spanish, but we created folders under a Google Drive, and we have here, you can see we have you can see different folders for each of the sectors in which the measures are divided. And if you open, for example, one of these folders, you have the different Word files, one Word file for each of the measure or objective we are going to track. And so the representatives from other institutions can fill in each one of these Word files. This is for an example or a screenshot of one of these files. You have here the technical sheet, the number of the technical sheet, the name of the measure, and all the relevant information. So we collect the information through this system that is very simple. It is a Google Drive with folders and files. And then once we have the information, we upload the information in the visualization platform. So we have created this visualization platform, and I want to point out some characteristics of this visualization platform. It was built using Pentaho dashboard. We had the support of some programmers, consultants to develop these dashboards. But the information, as I said, is collected manually or through this Google Drive and centralized in the Climate Change National Directorate, who uploads the information. Sorry?
Да, высокий.
Уважаемые коллеги, выключите, пожалуйста, микрофон.
So it is the directorate who uploads the information in this dashboard. Okay, and one particular thing that I want to point out is that all the data there that you can find in the visualizator can be opened as open data. So this is a screenshot of the main page of our visualizator. I can, if I click here, we can go to the real web page, and there you can change it to English, and there you have for each of the objectives of our NDC, conditional and unconditional, you have this graphic that shows the name of the objective. In this case, for example, is the reduction in CO2 emissions intensity per real GDP unit with respect to year 1990. Here you have the target value that it is in our NDC and the last value available. So here is the graphic that shows the progress in achieving this objective. And if you click here, you have the information sheet. The information sheet is in Spanish, but you can see several charts with the main information we have in these sheets. For example, here you have the name, you have the last value, the target value, the progress bar, and inside each of these files, you can see the name of the indicator we selected to track the progress of the objective, the formula that it is used, the definition of each of the variables of the formula, the calculation methodology, the frequency of the measure of this indicator, the data sources, and some observations. And here you have a summary table with the evolution of our measures, and also an auxiliary table in order to track the calculations I cannot find the word in English. Okay, the calculations to calculate the indicator. Okay, so I will go to the presentation. So for each of the objective, you have this information sheet with all the information, but the information was collected using the Word sheet, the Word files. Okay, so and then we translate this information and generate these PDFs to upload here. We also have this visualizator for the GHG emissions. We have here all the time series of our inventories, GHG inventories. And this is the other main page of the tracking system, where you can see the progress on each of the measures that are needed to comply with the objectives. If you click there, you can see our visualizator. Here we have the main page translated into English, and there you can select, for example, the measures subgroup that are unconditional, mitigation unconditional. And you can select also the sector or the area, for example, energy transport. And here you can see these graphics that shows, for example, the measures that are under implementation and the measures that are already reached. The area is only energy transport because I selected only the measures that are under transport. And here you have this table with the basic data for each of the measures. And you can also download a technical sheet containing specific information for each of the measures. For example, here you have one measure related to electric route in order to enable the charge of electric vehicles in the country. Okay, so that is our visualization platform. It is not an online MRV system because there are not users and passwords for each users to upload directly the information in this visualization platform. As I said, the information is collected manually and centralized and then charged or upload in the visualizator. Okay, and to finalize, this is the main lessons learned during our work. One thing is that the interinstitutional bonds of trust were key for our success. The share of information improves very much if a joint work is established. In the case of Uruguay, through working groups, the information goes fine. The leadership of the National Climate Change National Directorate was also key because of this bilateral work between professionals from the direction and professionals with other different responsible institutions. And these are two tips or advices that we want to give you, is that first, when you start working, start by defining the information that you need to track the objectives or the measures. Define the indicators and the information you need. So begin with small steps and then start thinking about the design of a complex platform or a complex system. And to use simple tools for data information collection from other institutions. And the software and the designs will come next. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. I hope the time is okay. I will be here for questions you have.
Yes. Thank you, Virginia, for a very comprehensive presentation and even going beyond and clicking on every link. So it's really helpful. It's not just a print screen which shows nothing. So thank you very much. For me, it was really useful when you went per each link and just opened it, and it was visualized. For me, it was very useful. And thank you very much once again. And I'm inviting all participants to ask questions because there is an opportunity for having 10 minutes of Virginia to respond to your questions. I have received one question from Diana from UNDP Armenia, and she asks, who besides the governmental bodies, just let me read it, who besides the ministry representatives are involved in the working groups?
Yes, each representative in the coordination group under the climate change national response system that designates the technician from each of the institutions to work in the working group. There is an official designation.
Mm-hmm.
The climate change national response system was created by decree. By an executive power decree. The coordination mechanism, that it is the umbrella, okay? So that this is the main institutional arrangement. And then we exchange the different tasks the government has to face, for example, this MRV system, and this coordination group creates a working group and asks the representatives from other institutions to designate a technician.
Okay, but it's formal, so it's legalized, it's formal, and it has to report to.
Yes, there is a formality in the creation of this interinstitutional mechanism, but the designation is formal but not legal, perhaps. Each working group has not a decree that creates each working group, for example.
Okay, so we see.
Okay.
And the next question also concerning the decree, is it possible, if it's publicly available, to share a link to the decree, if it's in Spanish even?
Yes,
Okay.
is it possible?
Yeah,
I
would it
can
be yeah.
find it and put it in the chat.
Yeah, perfect. It
Later.
would be perfect. Yes. And another question from Michael Vartanyan. How do you plan to reflect progression of projects and accumulation of outcomes in visualization with time?
So repeat me, please, the question.
Maybe Michael can clarify on his
Michael.
question. Maybe I read and it's not
Yes.
clear.
Hello,
Hi.
Michael. How are you?
Yeah, how are you? Good, great. I guess you will have information about projects that help you achieve the NDC in this visualization, and with time they will be producing more kind of outcomes, more mitigation and whatnot. My question was was about basically this visualization is like a point in time thing, or do you have some sort of a plan to show the progression of like every year, get the new snapshot of data and how it will progress?
Yes. The information is dynamic. It is updated once a year. If I can show again the visualizer and would be it could help. Here you have the year of publication. Here you have the year of publication. We have 3 years of publication. The first publication year was 2020. And then we have another publication in 2021 and the final publication in year 2022. And we are working now to update all the information on the progress of each of the measures and objectives for year 2023. And if you, for example, if you open one information sheet, it is in Spanish, but in the last page of the information sheet, you can see the evolution of the indicators or the values. You have different versions. The first version was with data for 2017, but it was published in 2020. And the value here was 1. This is for electric buses. We only had 1 electric bus. In 2019, we had 2 buses, and in 2021, we have 32 buses, electric buses. Okay, so we track the evolution of the indicators once a year, and the same occurs with the objectives. Once we have new GHG inventories, we update the mitigation objectives. For example, here it is the objective on CO2 per GDP, and we have different values depending on the year of the inventory. We have two values that it is the same because in 2020 and 2021 we only had the inventory for 2017, but then in 2022 we have already done the inventory for 2019 and we have a new value. I hope this answers the question from Mike.
Yeah, thank you very much. I guess maybe in the next version, what would really be nice is like a chart of time series progression, because that like especially in your example with buses, it would be really a striking progress that you are making there.
Yes. Yes, we are planning to introduce some graphics in the visualizator. We have a list of improvements for the visualizator, and one of these improvement is to include some graphics. Yes, to show better.
Thank you so much, and we are having a question from the floor. Voskeat, you have a question.
Thank you, Virginia, for a nice presentation. And as I have seen, you have 38 adaptation measures. Yeah. Do you?
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit more about that? What you are measuring, especially because it is one of the most difficult comparing with mitigation. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. For the adaptation measures, we and for the mitigation measures, we track the progress on implementation of each of the measures. We do not have indicators on impact, for example. We have indicators on the progress of a particular measure. For example, I can remember one of the adaptation measures that it is related with risk management. And the measures in our NDC, one of the measures of our NDC is to have one risk management plan for each of the regions in our country. And the indicator we use is how many plans, for example, if you have 6 regions, how many plans are established for risk management in each region. So if we have only 4 plans out of 6 regions, the indicator is 4 divided by 6, for example. You can see it there in Spanish, but you can see the different information sheets, and some indicators are qualitative and some indicators are quantitative, but they all reflects the progress of the implementation, but not impact, with this the more difficult thing to track or to evaluate the impact of each of the measures.
Okay, thank you. But as you said, from that link, we can find that information about measures, all those 38 measures, yeah?
Yes, yeah. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I can go again to the platform. And for example, if you select if you select adaptation, you can see that we have some measures under implementation, some measures that are already reached, and some measures that are still under programming. So they are not being implemented. And the adaptation measures we have are under each of these sectors: health, agriculture, disasters reduction, coastal zones, etc. And here you have the table with each of the measures. For example, here you have protected areas. For example, this is a measure that it is already accomplished, and if you download the information sheet, you have the measure under protected areas. And our measure says that in 2025, we will have at least 6 protected areas that includes the consideration of change and climate change under their management plan. And there you can see that we have six protected areas that has the consideration of climate change and viability under in their management systems. And for example, you have all the information needed to track it. This is the evolution. For example, in 2018, we only had 4 areas, and then 5, and finally 6. The 6 areas has this consideration, and here you have an evaluation matrix with the names of each of the protected area and the conditions that the protected area has to have in order to make a tick for this protected area. Okay, so we developed this kind of proxies or indicators to evaluate the progress of each of the measures. But yes, you can download the information sheet here where it is the loop, the zoom, and download a sheet for each of our measures.
Okay, thank you, Virginia.
Thank you very much, Virginia. And we're having the final question from the chat. Fatima Zahra asks, do you also track somewhere the support needed and support received?
Well, it is not included in the visualization platform. It is not included for each of the measures. It is not stated or included in the sheet the support needed or received for each of the measures. This is one of the things that we are thinking to improve, to include for each of the measures the support received, if it is from international cooperation, and to state it in the measures. We track the support received and gather information on the support needed when we elaborate our VURs, and we will do it when we elaborate the BTR. But it is not incorporated with in detail under each of the measures here in the visualizator. So the visualizator, the aim of the visualizator was to track the progress on the implementation of measures, and not the progress of the track of the support. Okay, the main the principal objective when we designed it was one thing and not the other. But we are going to think about and incorporate this information also, if we can. Something it's not so easy, but we will try.
Thank you very much, Virginia, for your comprehensive presentation, explanation, and so you were so passionate with us. I see another question to you, but in order to let another speaker to start off, I will ask you if you could just briefly answer into the chat directly.
Okay.
Thank you once again, and I would like to kindly ask Ms. Camille Salazar, Climate Change MRV Officer, National Climate Change Office of Belize, to take the floor. And Ms. Salazar will speak about experience, lessons learned, and next steps in establishing the online MRV system for Belize. So, Ms. Salazar, you will have 15 or 20 minutes maximum for the presentation, and another 10 minutes for question and answers. So please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning again, everybody. Let me just share my presentation. Okay, so good morning again. Thank you for this opportunity for Belize to share our experience in developing our online system. Um, as mentioned, my name is Camille Salazar. I'm the Climate Change MRV Officer within the Climate Change Office in Belize. So just to provide a little background on how it came about in the first place, we had been receiving assistance from the Initiative for Climate Action Transparency, or ICAT for short, to develop our MRV system. This was under an ICAT Belize project phase 1. So we received both technical and financial assistance throughout the entire process, which allowed us to develop a robust system for monitoring and reporting climate action in Belize. We received a total of 125,000 USD. The project had started in June 2022 and it just finished late last year in August. And the project had an objective of establishing impact and progress indicators, of establishing institutional arrangements, data collection and storage procedures, and also using one of the impact assessment guides from provided by ICAT on one of our NDC policies. Under the ICAT Belize Phase 1 project, we had a total of 4 outputs. The first involved identifying what exactly are the reporting requirements for the Paris Agreement and what it is that Belize would need, what information that we would need to track the implementation of our NDC. Luckily, during the same time, our NDC was also being updated, so our national MRV system was developed with our updated NDC. Our second input was developing or establishing institutional arrangements for data and information sharing between sectors and trying to formalize these arrangements. The third input involved developing MRV tools and procedures to facilitate the reporting that we established. And then, as I mentioned, the impact assessment guide that we had used from ICAT was a GHG Sustainable Development and Transformational Change Impact Assessment. So for us in Belize, our process started with consultations, sector-specific consultations that were held throughout the entire process from the beginning to the end. And in the beginning, we started out with introducing what exactly is MRV. And it was actually really good because it made us realize that while stakeholders were not familiar with the term MRV, they had already been practicing some monitoring procedures for their own internal purposes. So from this, then we were able to map out what are their existing MRV mechanisms and practices. And then we were able to identify what are the monitoring gaps within their practices. Then we were able to develop indicators for the different actions within our NDC, making them measurable. Together, then, the entire process allowed us to develop the institutional arrangements for our MRV system. So we had identified the appropriate institutions to track the indicators within each sector for the NDC. And then within each institution, we had identified a sector lead. So the sector leads are persons who represent each sector and are responsible for the overall reporting of those indicators and then providing the information to the National Climate Change Office, who's the overall coordinating reporting entity. So all of these arrangements were then formalized. We used the MOUs, and within the MOUs, we stated the different data sharing procedures, what are the reporting frequency, and the different processes for monitoring the indicators for each sector. And then this is just a graphic that displays the institutional arrangements for our MRV system in Belize. As you can see, we have the National Climate Change Office on top. As I mentioned, they're the overall coordinating entity for international reporting to the UNFCCC. So then below that, we have the different sector leads within each sector, separated by mitigation on this side and adaptation on this side.
Excuse me,
below-
Camille, we are not, we having, so the slides are not moving. We are just stuck on overview slide.
Oh, apologies, I'm way beyond that. How about now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Institutional arrangements, yes, we are
Okay,
here.
great. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Sorry. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this graphic just displays the institutional arrangements for Belize's MRV system, and on top we have the National Climate Change Office, because I mentioned they're the overall coordinating entity for international reporting. And then below them we have the different sector leads within each sector, and it's separated by mitigation and adaptation. Then below them, we have the data providers, who were the different entities that were identified to have the information related for the indicators. So then they would be responsible to submit to the sector leads, and then the sector leads to the National Climate Change Office. So with that, then I'll move into the actual online tool. So we were actually lucky in a sense, because as I mentioned, the project started in June 2020, which was during the pandemic, and a lot of restrictions were put in place, including face-to-face, face-to-face interactions were not allowed at the time. So all of our consultations were held virtually. So this actually created savings for us, and we got the opportunity to develop an online tool to facilitate our overall national system. So this slide and two others that I'm going to show are just the different features within the system. This is a screenshot of the system, and it shows this is where we can add a climate policy. So this is where we actually added our NDC. At this stage, at this option here, it's just basic information, exactly what it is, a description. We can include the start and end year, when it was submitted and approved. There's also an option as well to include an attachment. Then on the online system, we are able to view our NDC targets, actions, and indicators. And they are, as you can see on the side here, each action or each target and indicator has their own code, and it allows us to view them by sector if needed. So in the screenshot here, we can see that these are all for agriculture. There is an option on the side here where we could type to filter the results. So if we needed to see only for energy or only for forest, then we are able to type that in and only view those for that sector. So we also have an option called intervention, and this is actually where we would input information on a specific project or action or a climate change measure that is being implemented that contributes to one of the NDC targets or actions. And here then we can put in the title of that project, provide a description. Here where it says climate change framework is where we would be able to select our
Excuse
NDC.
me, Camille, we are only see the online MRV system, features of the system slide, nothing else.
Okay.
Is it?
Sorry about that. Are you
Okay.
saying adding a
Yeah,
policy?
now it's intervention, project action, yes. Mhm.
Okay. It's intervention or adding a policy?
No, it's intervention, project action.
Okay, let me go back. How about now?
Adding a policy, yes.
Okay, since you didn't see it, I just want to bring it back here.
Mhm.
So as I mentioned, this is where we would add the NDC itself, and this actually gives us the opportunity to add other climate policies, allowing us to track other frameworks in Belize. But initially for Belize, during this project, the purpose of developing the system was for our NDC to track the progress of of our NDC. So this is where we would add our NDC, providing it's titled, sorry, the description, the start year, end year, when it was submitted and approval. So just the basic information. And then we also have the option to include attachments. So you could attach an actual copy of the document here. I move to the NDC targets and actions slide. Are you seeing this?
Not yet.
Okay, I don't know if it's my internet. How about now?
No.
Okay. Any change now?
No.
Let me stop sharing and then I'll share
Yeah.
again.
Okay.
Okay. Are you seeing it now?
NDC target sections indicators.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But
so
not in the full screen.
Okay, and I have it in full screen.
Yeah. Now it's
Yeah?
okay.
Okay. So this feature is where we can view all of our NDC targets, all of our NDC actions, and the associated indicators. I had mentioned that for each target, action, and indicator, there is an associated code, which allows us to be able to separate them by sector. And there's also an option on the side here that says search, and we can type to filter the results. So if we needed to view only the indicators or only actions for the energy sector, we could just type here energy, and it would bring up only those for energy, or the same for forest, for example. If we needed to view just one specific indicator and we knew what it was called, we are also able to type that in to view just that one. I'm now moving to the intervention slide. If you can confirm that you're seeing it.
Not yet.
Apologies. I guess it must be my internet on this end.
Or maybe Teams. Sometimes it's
Yeah. Still no?
no.
Let me stop sharing again. I don't want to explain if you're not seeing. Okay, how about now?
Yes, intervention project action.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a tab on the system called intervention, and this is where we would input information on a project, on an action, or any climate change measure that we are implementing that contributes to the progress of the NDC. So we can again input basic information, what it's called, ministry here is which ministry is responsible for it, a brief description. And here where it says climate change framework is where we will be able to select the NDC, indicating that then this project is directly contributing to the progress of the NDC. We can then indicate which sector this project or action is targeting, what is the funds received, when it's starting, and who are the funding and executing agencies. Again, we also have the option here to upload attachments, so any project documents or proposals, work plans, we can upload that here and view them all in one place. And then from here, once all of this information is uploaded, we're able to, I didn't include a picture, but from here we are able to see which intervention is contributing to which indicator, and then able to see what the progress is. And then we are also able to track it by year, where we could provide updates or upload new information on a yearly basis. I now move to a slide called Lessons Learned. Are you seeing this one?
No.
Oh gosh, okay. Let me.
Yeah, maybe you need to move out of the full screen. Sometimes it works.
Okay, I just did that. Didn't. Are you seeing it now?
No.
Well, I guess for this one, it's just words. So I guess in the
Okay.
interest of time, if that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So moving on to lessons learned for us, we one of the first ones that I have listed is capacity building, and I state that capacity building is needed at sectoral levels. I mention this because we are dependent on our sector leads, and we're giving them this responsibility to provide information to us on different indicators, and so we can't expect them to just be able to go out right away on their own and know exactly what it is that they need to provide to us, or without them getting any assistance. So capacity building is very important to keep up the relationship between them and us, and so that we get complete and accurate information on our indicators. The second one I have listed was identifying gaps, and it's very important to identify gaps at the onset of your project or at the development of your MRV system to know exactly what is needed, and then this can be used to help you as to develop your procedures for collecting information and how it is that you will incorporate these procedures into your online tool. The third one that I have listed is using a bottom-up approach. As I had mentioned, one of our processes included mapping out existing MRV mechanisms. And so this made us not, this eliminated us from starting, eliminated the need from starting from scratch. And we just built upon what already existed within the different sectors and making sure that it was aligned across all sectors in the overall system. This especially this also makes it easier on the sector leads because they're already familiar with the process, and it's just enhancing what they're already doing and explaining to them what are the new um, procedures for data collection and for reporting and sharing. It also encourages the buy-in from them as well. And so with that, I moved to another slide. I don't know if you're seeing it, but it's just I'm moving on to next steps. And we are actually now receiving further support from ICAT. Earlier this year, actually, we just signed on to two separate projects with them. One is phase two of this current project. So everything that I just explained, it's a phase two of that. And then another is a climate to develop a climate finance MRV system. Um, so together, the next steps for us will be including data visualization features, because the way our system is set up right now, we don't have any way of generating graphs or any graphics based on the information that we include. But we realize that this is very important, especially for generating reports. So we want to, that's one of the new features that we want to include. Another next step is including a calculation engine for GHG emissions, because the way the system is developed right now, we actually don't have any way on it to monitor our greenhouse gas emissions. And this is very important. So we want to include this concept, this aspect of international and national reporting processes onto the system. The third one is developing an MRV portion for climate finance. So this will include developing methodologies, procedures, and indicators for tracking the different support that Belize receives, especially from international sources. The last one I have listed is the inclusion of non-government entities, because for us for phase one, we've only so far included government ministries. So all of our sector leads and our stakeholders that we had been contacting were within government only. But we do realize that within the private sector, they not only contribute to GHG emissions, but there are some entities that are implementing their own climate change actions. So it's definitely important for us to include that in our reporting and get them involved in the MRV system as well. That brings me to the end of my presentation. So I just want to say thank you, and I open up the floor for questions. I apologize for the technical issues on my end for the slides not showing.
Thank you very much, Camille, for a very comprehensive presentation. And I'm thrilled to see that over the 2 years of period, you made that tremendous work. So it's, yeah, congratulations, because, yeah, just 2 years, but yeah, a very, I mean, structured work. And please, yeah, tell us if the project envisaged both analysis, like institutional arrangements, the roles, data formats, etc., and the physical coding of the system. Am I right? So it's like two parts of the system were envisaged within your project.
Yes, that's correct. Because originally, as I mentioned, it was not planned to do the online tool at all. We got the opportunity because of the pandemic and all our consultations being held virtually. So originally, everything that the system was supposed to do, we would have been doing in Excel files and Word documents, nothing online. So it would be sharing files after files and sending, through email and that type of thing. So getting the opportunity to develop the online system really helped us in eliminating that and having it sort of centralized in one place. I also forgot to mention that the NCCO they're the overall administrator for the system, but the different sector leads has access to the online tool as well. So it's for them to directly upload information for each of their sectors for the indicators that they're responsible for.
This is good to hear, because yeah, the whole burden cannot be captured by NCCO only.
Yes.
And yeah, before I pass the floor to the questions and answers from other participants, please satisfy my curiosity. Whose examples or whose cases, I mean, the countries, or you have used or considered while developing your own system?
Well, actually, we put out ads to develop the system, and we selected a company called eData here in Belize, and they actually one of their services that they offer is developing information management system. So the basis of it is built on that, and then we had a national consultant during the project who had already begun developing the Excel templates, and they had used sorry, I forgot what it's called, the NAMA SD tool as an example, and then just adapted it to the indicators that into our climate change actions and the indicators that we developed. And so that was used as well when developing the online tool. So it was converting everything that was already done on paper to the online tool. So besides that, like I mentioned, we also had assistance from ICAT, technical assistance from them. So it wasn't just where they were funding it, but they were there with us the entire way, and they provided technical advice. And so together, that's how we came up with the system.
Thank you so much. Dear
Sure.
participants, yeah, you have an opportunity to ask the questions, to clarify some points which was brought by Camille. Just raise your hands. David, Shinzan, if you are here, everything is clear, or you have anything to ask?
I also included my email. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
I just was wondering whether this MRV platform is supported by legal institutional regulations.
Okay,
How this sharing is taking place.
Yes, at the moment, no, we don't actually have no legislation in place. So this is actually just done through mutual agreements with us and the different institutions. As I mentioned, we had drafted MOUs, memorandum of agreements, between us and them where they're agreeing to provide this information to us. So at this stage, that's all that we have in place. We don't have anything exactly making it mandatory and saying that they have to provide this information to us. So far, it's just between good working relationships between the different institutions.
Thank you very much. And I have a question from the chat from Bosquiat. She asks, at what stage of the MRV system are the NGOs or non-governmental agencies are involved?
So that's something that we will address in phase 2 of the ICAT project. We haven't done that yet, but we do want to include them. We're hoping to accomplish that before the end of our project, which runs up to August of 2023.
Clear. Thank you so much. Any further questions from the audience?
As it was difficult to follow Kamil's presentation because of technical problems, is it possible to share both presentations? Yeah.
Sure.
And maybe later on we will have more questions. And is it possible to communicate with Kamil by mail, I think?
Yes, certainly. I included my email address in the presentation, actually. So when it's shared, please feel free to contact me with any questions.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect, Kamil. If you have a chance to share your presentation with me, and then I will circulate it among the participants. Yeah, and with Virginia's presentation, please. Because before we didn't accept the presentation because any kind of update could happen. Yes, we have a question from Diana.
I would like to thank you for this presentation and want to ask both presenters and as a conclusion, which we need also for our future actions. Sophisticated online software for all the MRV visualization and data collection is the thing that we are internally discussing needed and how much efforts have to be placed for this. And the Uruguay case for me looks very comprehensive because it was supported with the legal acts and it is used with the expert judgment for the visualization, because you can't collect just simple data and put it and finish the work with the data collection. You have to put a lot of efforts also for making this information to the topic of the mitigation or adaptation. From this point of view, the experience of both countries, how much efforts are needed for making such online data collection platform, or it's better to have, as Virginia mentioned, a data collection system which is simple and institutionalized through formal channels, but not through some softwares and complicated system, but to have proper visualization which can show the progress and show the situation and perfectly meet the target of NDC implementation tracking. So we need this experience of both countries is very useful for us, and we have some preliminary also study of Uruguay experience, and we think that the approach is pragmatic and effective. If Virginia can approve or
Yes, Camille, Virginia, please, just
Yes.
in short.
Yes, it is one of our lessons learned that we started doing very tiny steps. We begin creating this working group and think together, which is the information that we need to track the measures. And yes, the the tool to gather information is very simple. It is our Google Drive and a form in Word that makes it easier for other representatives to fill in the information. And once we have this information in these forms, we make some quality checks before uploading the information to the visualization system, which is public. It is public, and it requires efforts. Of course, it will require human resources, hours from different institutions to fill in these forms. But I think that the great effort was at the first time when we built each one of the information sheets with all the information that I told you, that we have to develop the indicator, the methodology, the formula, the data source. But once you have the first information sheet, then the updating of the information is easier, and it is not too much resource consuming. And the visualization using the Pentaho dashboards was not too much resource consuming. We had the support for other agencies in the government who contributed with some programming hours people to develop the system. But once the dashboards was created, that it was one time, we have a data uploading process that is very simple, and one person from this office can update it easier. So it's not too much time consuming now. It took us about 2 years to construct the first edition of our visualization system. It took about 2 years, but now that it is settled, the updating does not take too much time.
Thank you very much, Virginia,
Thank you.
for sharing your experience. Camille, can you also share your insights and efforts on whether it is sophisticated? Because from Virginia, I understood that the first step was the hardest one, and then it went easier.
Yes, it is sophisticated in a sense, I would say, because it involves a lot of planning. The reason I started out with providing the background of the project itself is because we definitely needed to complete all of those steps before we even thought of an online tool. We needed to identify what exactly we need to monitor, how we're going to do this, who are the people that needs to be involved, and then seeing how we can make it all work together. So I think you definitely need to work all of that out first, establishing those procedures, the personnel involved, and before you move on to an online tool. Once all of that is in place, then it makes it easier to work it into the online system, and then you already know what is the information that you need to include, what are the indicators, and then what information is needed to be collected for the specific indicators as well. The data visualization is an important aspect, I have to say, and it's something I mentioned that we want to include in phase 2, because the way for us, at least the way it's set up, it's just words and numbers under each indicator, and we want to have something visual where we can see progress over time, like I mentioned, whether it's in a graph, whether it's in a pie chart, So I think that's a very important aspect to include, where we have yet to see exactly how we're going to incorporate this into our online system. But again, we'll be working with the IT consultant to work on the system, and we will still have that technical assistance from ICAT as well.
Thank you very much, Camille, for your insights. And yeah, we're having just final last question from David. He asks, who is responsible for calculation of GHG emission reduction resulted by the implementation of mitigation pumps in your online system?
For Belize, like I mentioned, it's not incorporated in the online system yet, but we of course carry out the procedures. So actually our fourth greenhouse gas inventory that we submitted, I think it was in 2020, is the first time that we were able to do it with national counterparts completely, and so without the help of international consultants. So we have different sector leads within each sector from institutions that we've been working with for years now when it comes to calculating greenhouse gas emissions. And then they submit their sector reports to the National Climate Change Office, and then we do the consolidated report and produce the official national inventory report itself for submission.
Thank you very much. Virginia, if you have anything to add, or
no, in our no, in our case, there is another a working group on GHG inventories. They calculate all our time series GHG inventories, and for the measures that it was possible to calculate the abatement related to the mitigation measures, the same working group calculated the abatement or the GHG reductions for some only some measures that it is possible or easy, what was possible. The responsibility remains in this in one of these working groups under the system. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Virginia. Thank you very much, Camille, for your really comprehensive presentations, for your explanations, because it was very important, not only for Armenia, but also for other countries to understand the basics behind what lies behind the online system, how much workload and work was contributed and efforts were done in order the system just looks as it is now. So thank you very much for your time, for your early morning contributions. From my side, I would also like to thank the government of Armenia and the colleagues from Armenia who participated in our event, and also the colleagues from other countries. And I saw that a lot of colleagues from Azerbaijan were here. Meaning that the establishment of MRV system using the web-based solution is very critical for our countries, as we are just starting our journey towards this goal. From my side, I would also kindly ask all the participants to fill in a very short Mentimeter survey. It's just 3 questions there, just for us to assess the effectiveness of the event and to assess how we can improve our planning and organization of similar events in the future. So it would be very, very helpful for us if you could spend just 3 minutes of your time to assess the webinar. At this point of time, I would like to thank everyone and to wish a very good day, evening, and yeah, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.